Merry Christmas if you're watching this live. And if you're watching the replay, I hope that your holidays were a happy time for you and your family and friends that taught you that being with other people can even make tough times a little bit better, or at least for a little while. Now, speaking of being taught things, that's not the theme of this video. This is more about things you can't, or, well, I'm not going to say shouldn't teach people, things that you can't teach people, not that you shouldn't try. Get rid of some of these pop ups here. All right. Now, again, this is things that you can't teach people. I'm going to tell you about a few things that can't be taught, along with a few ways on how to work around them, because I always believe there is a way to teach anybody anything. But again, the topic is there are some things that you just can't teach people. So we're going to look at some of those things tonight. Now, I am going to provide you with a couple of tips on how to deal with situations at the end of this conversation where the seemingly impossible is possible when it comes to teaching someone who knows everything and or refuses to be taught. And then we'll deal with that in just a few minutes. Let's get into this conversation so you can have a deeper understanding and have a new experience on what you can't teach someone, whether it's in school, at work, or even at life at home. This might be a new experience, but let's see what happens here. So, hearing what you can't teach, but may not want to, sounds a little strange. But the first thing on the list, and I think that you won't be able to prove me wrong in this, but if you can, leave it in the comments, is experience. Now, experience cannot be taught, it has to be experienced. It has to be learned by doing. And this just takes time, not just education, although education with time equals experience. You just got to go through it. So you can't teach experience. And this is where education and on the job training or being in an internship really comes in handy. And I will be dealing with internships probably in a couple shows from now, a couple weeks. We'll deal with that. I'll have on some career experts and we'll talk about that. Internships are amazing too. But again, you just can't teach experience. And again, prove me wrong if you can, but you can't teach it. The second and most common subject that can't be taught is one that makes a lot of common sense to me, and that is common sense. Now, common sense is the ability to reach an agreement or an intelligent conclusion through making wise decisions or making sound judgments. If that sounds like you, then you have good common sense. The problem is we're seeing a lot of people, especially if you look way high up in our societies, no matter where you're on the planet, of people that are showing very little common sense. So I would propose to you that common sense is rare and that it might even be considered a superpower. I've seen that in a quote. I think it's a great quote. So common sense is a rare superpower, especially these days. And because of some of the AI, I'll probably get into this later in the next year in 2023 about AI and how it is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing when it comes to helping us grow common sense. Again, you can't teach common sense. Common sense comes either built in, and there is some research out there that actually scientists have shown, researchers have shown, and you can Google this stuff, that people are born with common sense or they're not. And some people develop it. Now, as a good example, when a child, okay, let's always go down to the kids because kids are very neutral. We have a light socket, right? Now, if there's little children in the room, this is not connected. Don't try this at home. So, adults, make sure your little kids are hiding. When a little kid sees a light bulb go into a socket, they see something going into a socket. What do little kids have? They don't have light bulbs. They have fingers. Yeah, right? They do that. You tell them, hey, if you really want to get the circuit, you lick your finger and then do it. Don't do this, okay? Big disclaimer. Little kids also see things. We plug things into things. They see little things on the floor. Let's see. Oh, a paper clip. Oh, I can stick a paper. I'm not going to do this. This isn't plugged in. It's not. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. But little kids will do that, right? Because this is something that goes in the hole, like mommy and daddy put in there. So be careful of this stuff. Common sense is not something that is natural to some people, especially as little children. Some little children have a lot of it, some don't. If you take some psychology classes, even in high school or in college, they'll show you little kittens and puppies and human babies that go to the edge of a precipice, and there'll be a piece of glass. And some of the creatures, I'm not going to give this away, you got to go look this up, will crawl over that glass. because their depth perception hasn't been developed, or their common sense of, hey, I'm going to fall, or maybe they know that there's a piece of glass there and they shouldn't do it anyhow. Again, it's a really neat study that they've done. Go look that one up too. That's really fun. The other problems with common sense, and these are worst case scenarios, are what, and I say this in a loving way, in a caring way, of educated idiots. Okay. These are people who think they're very smart. They're book smart. Now, there's people that are amazingly book smart that you can't deny. That's why I say this is in a loving way. Book smart is good. However, when it comes to some common sense things, how to hold a nail, I can't do that. I don't have a hammer here, but how to hit a nail, how to hold a nail to hit it with a hammer. You don't learn that in a book. You can see all the imagery you want. You can even watch a video on how to do it. But until you learn how to hold it and the tension that you need and how hard should you hit that nail, whether it's a big hammer or a little hammer, it really matters. And common sense doesn't always come into play. And you'll see people with band-aids on their fingers, and it's probably what happened to it. Again, common sense, it just takes time. Now, let's talk about some serious issues with common sense. I saw a horrific story in the news, and I'm not going to judge it for what it was, but it made me think of what's going on right now I'm in Ohio, and we've had some really serious cold. It was negative without the wind chill. And I've been in below, what was it, minus 60 Fahrenheit with wind chill. I was doing some cutting of trees way back, and the chainsaw kept freezing up. That's how cold it was. And if we hadn't had fires around, I could have had frostbite very easily from unexposed skin. And by the way, frostbite occurs easily on open skin at minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit, with or without wind chill. So if it's minus 15 outside, or the wind chill says it's minus 20, you got to be really careful of that. So make sure you're covered up. Again, common sense doesn't come into play when it's cold. Oh, look, skies are blue. Yeah, it's a little windy. Doesn't matter. There's people that live way north of here that know there's certain things. If birds frozen midair and just drops out of the sky, it's pretty cold out. That says common sense, cover up. One of the other things I think about with cold in extremes is, don't play with fire. We tell little kids. Think about this. If you play with extremes, you're going to get burned. Okay. This is not necessarily common sense, right? People think, oh, just put a glove on. Well, what kind of glove? If you put in finger gloves when it's really cold out, common sense says, well, my hands are covered, except that people get frostbitten on their fingers. I mean, this is a horrible thing. But if you're in a mitten, your fingers are together and you create warmth. That's common sense. But again, it's not always common sense to some people on that. If you bring somebody from equatorial up to my region of the world or far north, the common sense is that they just don't understand cold. It's just not going to be there. What happens as we get older to common sense? Should we boost it? Does it naturally occur? Yeah, but how? Well, this is where experience comes in with confidence. Now, experience. You can't teach experience, right? It just can't be done. Confidence, it's kind of tricky. Some people have built in confidence. We'll call it ego. Not necessarily common sense ego, but they have confidence. But can you teach confidence? Now, I can show you how to climb a tree. I used to be a really good tree climber. I can show you how to do it. I can tell you how to do it. I can show you a video on how to do it. I can stand at the bottom of the tree and say, now watch everything, single thing I do, and then repeat exactly what I do. Without confidence, you're just not going to do it. If you see me slip, and I just, even jokingly, your confidence is going to drop, right? Go check out my video on Motivation Meter if you want to see about this stuff too. You can't really teach confidence. Confidence is learned through experience. It really is. Let's talk about poisonous creatures. Okay. One of the things, I accidentally clicked on a spider channel on my Instagram. So it took me about a week to stop getting spiders. And some are kind of cute and some are like, no way, get that away from me. I don't like spiders, especially big ones with fangs. The tarantula guy had them in his mouth. I'm like, no, oh, no, 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 no. Well, here's the deal. I have plenty of confidence in things that I can trust. If I can't trust it, i.e., holding a tarantula that has big fangs, even though somebody says, look at my tarantula, and they hold it and they play with its fangs and it doesn't bite them. No, it has nothing to do with fear, nothing to do with confidence. It's just my common sense and my experiences. Sharp things go through my skin, and that thing is going to bite me and it's going to hurt, whether it's poisonous or not. I know some tarantulas are, some aren't. You're not going to get me to do it. Same thing with picking up a snake. I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm respectful of snakes. There are some people that will, I watch on Instagram. Oh my gosh. They play with those huge king cobras like it's nothing. There's little children playing with a cobra like I play with a pug. I don't know if that's confidence. I would say it's lacking in common sense with the adults. It's just one of those things we could go on for that for quite a while. Some other common sense issues with confidence and experience are, how about, would you jump into a swimming pool with sharks? I have swam with sharks in an enclosed tank. Actually did it. My brother-in-law can prove that I did it. We have pictures somewhere. It wasn't video, but we have pictures. We actually did do that. And was it confidence that the sharks were going to bite us? There was always in the back of my mind, what if the shark doesn't behave the way we were told it does, even though we were watching them going in their area? What if? They said, you go past that line, you're going to get bit. That shark is going to take a taste out of you. Don't do that. It would be bad. Plus, we had an audience watching through the aquarium windows. I've done that. Okay, don't do that. But if you're not confident, you will not even get near the opening of that tank, no matter what. You won't even stick your toe in the water just because there's sharks in there, even though they're somewhat docile sharks. But when you get close sharks, they always have teeth. So you got to be careful of that. Now, sharks in an open water environment. I've touched a shark in open water. It was a 9-foot black tip. Thing was coming right at me. Took a picture, pulled my fingers in because fingers look like hot dogs to creatures underwater. And I watched it go by and I reached up, touched its tail and was like, ooh, that was crazy. Would I do that again? Probably not, because, well, experience teaches you it's probably not a good idea. But my common sense was, do it anyhow. I don't care. So it was ego speaking. I just said, I have to touch it. Plus, it was right there. And it was the opposite end of the teeth. And as I learned about sharks, they can actually turn pretty quick and get you. In confidence and experience, again, time. It takes time. Now, I can teach you how to be confident, how to fake confidence. I do a lot of that education. But again, it's not something that can be easily taught to some people. It just can't, because they just might not want to. They might not have the intent to do that. And intent is another thing that you can't teach. You can't teach somebody intent. Intent comes from within. It's an internal desire of why someone wants to do something. Why do I want to do what I want to do? Because it's my intent. I'm prepared for it. I want to do it. I'm going to do it. I was watching a show about Mount Everest, and this amazing young lady, Iranian young lady, who was climbing up Mount Everest for the first time. It was the 2015 earthquake that hit Nepal. Amazing show. And her intent was to climb that mountain until the earthquake hit. Then all she wanted to do was get out of there, but they were trapped. A very scary situation. Common sense says you probably shouldn't go in areas that are well, they can kill you and squish you. But again, preparedness. So their intent was, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do this. Again, you can't teach it, but you can help people prepare for it, right? Your intention is not your intent. Your intent is motivation. Your intention is to actually do something. So there's two different things. And if you want to learn more about motivation, you can definitely look that up on the Wheel of Success channel, my second channel, or it's my first channel, depending which one you're working on, but definitely check that out. Now, let's talk about that impossible situation on how to teach someone who thinks or actually might really know it all. Okay. We've probably all met know-it-alls. One more thing on intent while I'm thinking about it. I got to tell you this example. So in martial arts, there is intent of why we teach people things. There is extreme intent of why we teach people. We don't want people to get hit. We didn't say hurt, just hit. If they don't get hit, they can't get hurt. The intention is, I tell somebody, punch me in the nose. And they always, and they would stop way shorter. I could say, punch me in the stomach, and they would barely touch me. No, you have to have intent. Punch me harder. I'm not going to punch you back. And some of the kids would actually do it. And some of the adults were like, no, you're going to punch me back. I'm like, I'm not going to, and you had to trust that they weren't going to overly hit you. But if they did, you were able to respond quick enough as a teacher. But the intent is this. If we just teach somebody the moves, you block a punch by just pushing it away, or by using your forearm, or ducking and doing this. Well, then here, I'm going to go real slow, right? So you're teaching them wrong intent. So that's why you have to be careful of how you teach intent. I'm going to punch you in the stomach and you need to block, or I'm going to punch you in the nose or the mouth or somewhere. Your intent is to not get hit. My intent is I am actually going to touch you. I'm not going to hurt you, but I am going to touch you. And I'm going to touch you hard and fast. Ready, set, you give them warning, and then they go. And if they stand there, we pull our punch. But if they generally, most people move, they know it's coming. So again, intent has to still be learned through motivation and desire. So I forgot about that one. I had to get that one in real quick for you. All right. So let's talk about that impossible situation and how to teach someone who thinks they know it all, right? We've met people that know it all. I don't know it all. I will tell people instantly, I don't know it all. Now, as a martial arts instructor, we never mention that because we would stop that conversation real quick. The grandmaster does, and he might not have said he knows everything, but as far as we're concerned, he knew everything. To go up against a know-it-all and to teach them something. You can't teach someone who doesn't want to learn, first of all. Okay. But here's the way around that. Ask them, hey, can you show me how that works? Okay. Mechanic. I know all about the cars. You know nothing. Great. Can you show me? Okay. Then they show you. You know what? You're actually teaching them new things because now they're showing off for you what they know and they have to do it right. If they make a mistake, they may not admit it. You might actually catch it, or maybe you won't. It depends what you know. But their experience, their confidence, and their intent is going to come out. And they're going to be like, you know what? Now that I think about it, use your left hand and put your right hand here. Use your right hand and put your left hand here. They'll show you different ways to do this. This can happen pretty easily. Watch for people that do the know-it-all thing and challenge them. See what happens. Now, as a teacher, I can absolutely tell you that every class I have ever taught and everyone I will teach in the future is going to be different. And it was different because each of my students are unique and they're not as a whole. There's a whole class, but as individuals, they force me to think differently. I have to learn new styles to reach new levels of thinking for whatever my students have encountered up to that time period just before they entered my classroom. And I like that. Otherwise, it'd be very boring and I wouldn't want to teach. It would just be blah, 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 blah. You know, it's rote memory. I don't like to teach that way. I like to teach within the system of what I have, not within the system of what I have to teach, although I do that too. But I like to teach to the individual. So I take the same content and I bring that forth and I try to do it in a different way. Again, because I'm not a know-it-all. I could say I'm an expert, but I like to say like my Matt buddy says, you're a specialist. I'm a specialist. Okay, that's what I do. So to learn more about things, check out the video on your screen because that's the one that you might be able to get some more information out of to help you communicate at a higher level and reach higher levels of success in all your efforts at school, at work, and in your life. I'll see you online soon. Have a happy new year if I don't see you before then. Take care.